someone to move to declare that it's a necessity to hold the meeting electronically due to COVID-19, which is in accordance with Executive Order Number 16 issued by Governor Lee on 2020 and extended by Executive Order Number 65.
Martin Myers, so moved. Or motion made.
Martin Myers moved to have the meeting by executive order. Do I have a second?
Second, Cindy Howes.
Thank you, Cindy. So we're about to vote. We're going to take a roll call vote on this one, just so that, is that okay with you, Christie, on roll call?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we'll need to do roll call on that tonight.
Okay. We'll do a roll call vote on it. As I call your name, please identify yourself and how you voted. First of all, I have Sam Bastian. Dr. Sam Bastian, I'll come back to you. Charlie Beecham.
Charlie Beecham, yes.
Thank you. Tina Hamlin. Not there. Cindy Howes.
Cindy Howes, yes, please.
Kathy Montgomery. Not on yet. Kathy, are you here yet? Martin Myers.
Martin Myers, yes.
Thank you. Dr. Gary Owens.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah.
Got you. And Dr. Stillwell. Thank you, Dr. Stillwell. Rhonda Watson.
Ron, yes.
Thank you. And Rob Ashworth.
Yes, here.
Thank you. All right. Did I overlook anybody that got on? Dr. Sam Bastian? Tina Hamlin? Kathy Montgomery? And Rogers Anderson, the chair votes yes. So we have a quorum. We have enough to continue on with our meeting tonight. First item of business we have will be, if your microphone is on, turn it off. If your microphone is off, look, thank you. First order of business we have tonight is the approval of the minutes that were mailed out to you. This will be the October the 20th, 2020 meeting. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
Cindy Howes, so moved.
Thank you, Ms. House. Do I have a second?
You Stillwell, second.
Thank you, Dr. Stillwell. Have a proper motion and a second. Any correction of the minutes, please click on and tell me. Otherwise, we're getting ready to vote. The minutes are flashed up in front of you in case you don't have a copy. I'll do a roll call on the minutes. Dr. Sam Bastian. Dr. Charlie Beecham.
Approve.
Thank you. Tina Hamlin. Cindy Howes.
Cindy Howes, approved.
Thank you. Kathy Montgomery. Martin Myers.
Martin Myers, approved.
Thank you, Martin. Dr. Gary Owens. Dr. Gary Owens.
Gary Owen, yes.
Thank you. Dr. Stillwell.
You Stillwell, yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Approve.
Thank you. Rhonda Watson.
Rhonda Watson, approved.
Thank you. And finally, Rob Ashworth.
Yes, Rob Ashworth, approved.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, Rob Ashworth is here representing the applicant, so he's not actually participating in the board action.
Thank you for pointing that out. And Anderson votes yes for the minutes. Did I overlook anyone out there that I've overlooked? Let the minutes reflect they passed unanimously. First item we have on the agenda, in fact, the only item we have on the agenda, is to request a variance for the use of a new experimental secondary modified low-pressure pipe system with some extra modifications, along with several other variances associated with the designation of both the new primary and new secondary septic system areas to serve an existing structure so as to allow its renovations to proceed. Henry T. and Wendy Money at 5516 Joseph Street in Franklin, Tennessee, 37064. Let me get a motion to get this up on the floor, and then we'll let Brian explain it to us. Do I have a motion?
Cindy House, I so move.
Thank you, Cindy. Do I have a second?
Martin Myers, second.
Thank you, Martin. Okay, Brian, we have a proper motion and we have a second on that. Would you give us the explanation of that, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. So first off, I'd like to let you know that Mr. and Ms. Money are both on the meeting. So they're here to answer any questions. And also Rob Ashworth is their attorney. He's participating as well tonight, and he can elaborate if need be. So I'll just kind of start off by making sure that everyone got their packet and their board report that we sent out earlier. I've got some of the exhibits on the screen that I can display. And if you have questions, you can ask me. We've been working with the applicants for the last few months, most of this year, regarding their property out in the Leapers Fork area. They just recently purchased the property, and they're wanting to do some renovations to their residence. The original house was constructed way back in the 1920s. It's a really small lot, only about a half-acre lot, and they're wanting to do some structural renovations. There was the system, or the house was originally just a two-bedroom house. Even after they do all their renovations, it'll still stay a two-bedroom house. The existing septic system on the property, the department, we don't have any records of that existing system. We have located it. There's a septic tank and a small amount of field line that run out the back. But since we don't have any records of it, it's actually classified as an undocumented, non-conforming system. And so, again, working with Mr. and Ms. Money and what their intentions are, based on the nature of the renovations that they want to do, it's something that requires that they upgrade the system, the septic system, to be in compliance with the current codes. And we also talked with them about their options and what their desires were. And because of the limited nature of the system, they were really interested in trying to get that system upgraded, so that they could be assured that it wouldn't have any issues in years to come as they use their property. So that's what we started looking towards, is how do we get a compliant system on their property. As y'all are well aware, we have quite a few challenges in the Leapers Fork area, and this property is no different. It's very small, an older house, very limited soils. But they hired several consultants to work through the process. They hired Michael Harbauer, soil scientist, Tim Turner and his team at T-Square Engineering to help do some of the engineering work. Mark Cantrell with Arrowhead Survey was very instrumental in doing some of the survey work and working through some of those issues. And their attorney, Mr. Ashworth, was very helpful in clarifying some of the property line issues that we had. And so going through all that, when they did the soil map, they actually had very good soil in the back of the property. So it was really good quality soil, which is in a lot of the systems that we deal with. But there wasn't much of it. So there was a real small area. One of the soil units did have some drainage issues associated with it. So it required a drain before we could even use it. And so that became one of our biggest challenges that we had to overcome, because the lot was very flat, very small. Trying to get an outlet for that drain became very challenging. And also because of the small nature of the lot, when we started applying all the regulatory setbacks, it just shrank the area down very small. So we had to look at some adjustments to some of the setbacks. We also had to get creative in how we use that soil. One of the provisions in the regulations allows us to do a modified low pressure system, which y'all are very familiar with, but instead of doing just 6 inches of soil modification, we can do an experimental modified system where we bring in actually 12 inches of soil. So a lot more modification soil than normal. And that became very important and very key to making the system work, especially with the drain and the situation with the drain. So by doing that, we could then properly design a drain and drain the soil to get an outlet for that drain, though, we couldn't get an outlet on their property. So we had to look at an off-site drainage easement to their neighbor's property. And their next door neighbor, Deborah Warnick, was very willing to help in their situation. So we were able to get an off-site drainage easement onto her property. That worked fine. So again, looking at some of those setback distances, I listed those in the board report, and I'm going to read them really quick just so that I'll make sure that everyone understands them. We had to reduce the
Brian.
setback from the property line.
Hey, Brian, let me interrupt you. Dr. Gary Owens, you need to mute if you possibly can. If it's not on a computer, try *6 on your phone. *6 will probably mute that, and then you can unmute yourself by *6. We're getting there. You try
There
that.
you go.
You had it and you lost it, Gary. All right, that's it. Nope, you went right back to it. It's *6 on your phone, and then to unmute, it'll be *6 again. There you go.
There you go.
Got you. Thank you, Gary. Okay, Brian, go ahead.
Yes, sir. So going back to some of the setback adjustments that we had to make, typically the areas from the property line are 20 feet under current regulations. We had to reduce those to 10 feet, and that's more standard with what older properties were. So it's not something uncommon that we do out in the Leapers Fork area. We had to reduce the setback from the areas to, there's a little shed in the very back that doesn't really impact the system. So we had to reduce it to 5 feet. The garage, there's a garage in the back of the property as well. We had to reduce it slightly from 25 feet to 18 feet. And then the tanks to the property line, slight adjustment there from 20 foot to 18 feet. And the tanks to the house, another slight adjustment from 10 foot to 7 foot. And then a couple of setbacks associated with the drawdown drain from the areas from 25 feet to 16 feet, and from the garage 10 foot to 2 foot. So we had to have those adjustments in order to expand the area big enough to get a system designed to fit. And so I'll pull up a drawing so everyone can see what I'm talking about. And so when we were able to apply those those setback adjustments and expand the area, we got quite a bit of good area to use. However, it wasn't big enough size-wise to meet the current regulations on size. But the design engineer was able to design a system and prove to us that we could get enough system for both primary and secondary in there. So we don't have quite as much buffer as we would normally have within the area, but we are able to provide soil modification buffer around the perimeter of the area. So we were very comfortable with what the design engineer was able to do and make sure that the system could fit within that area. He did have to do one little adjustment, kind of an engineering adjustment, where on the length of the laterals. Typically, the laterals can only be 60 feet long, but we wanted to maximize those lengths, and so we've got it designed at 65 feet instead of 60. So I want to make sure I pointed that out to everyone. And so, in addition to those setbacks adjustments and area size adjustments, a couple other things that we had to look at. Typically, with a low pressure system, as you know, we have a curtain drain that goes across the top of the system. Our soil scientists looked at the soil properties associated with this soil and the way the topography was, and they didn't really feel like a curtain drain itself was warranted across the top, which would be on the rear part of the property. It was much more important to have that drawdown drain at the lower level to reduce that wetness. And so in order to make that drawdown drain work, we adjusted the design of the drain just a little bit. Typically it's 18 inches wide, and here we only wanted it to be 12 inches wide. We had to make some adjustments to the piping material as well. But we were able to get that drain designed and able to get a positive outlet onto the neighbor's property And that was key and critical in us being able to use this soil. If we couldn't get that to work, we wouldn't have been able to use this soil at all. And then finally, there was an issue with the property line, the adjacent property line. And let me pull that up and you can see a diagram that shows that. Along the property line with the adjacent neighbor, there was actually an old street from a long time ago, 100 years or so ago, and it was called CD Street, and it was actually an alleyway that went between those property lines. However, that CD Street had been abandoned for decades and not been in use. There's nothing there. It's just both of their yards. There's very large trees there, and they've kind of both owners have kind of just assumed the use of that property. But again, it wasn't clearly titled to them. So one of the things that we worked with Christie and with their attorney, Mr. Ashworth, is how can we resolve that boundary line issue and get that resolved so that we could use some of that area, because that CD Street ran through a portion of good soil that we needed to use. And so they were able to do a boundary line agreement, the Moneys and their neighbor, Ms. Warnick. And so they recorded a boundary line agreement that gave them an agreed upon possession line and kind of will, abolish where that old CD Street is. And so that was very key and critical. The one issue with that is, in order to get that ratified and make sure that that's, in good shape, it requires what's called a quiet title action through the court system. And that's something that's going to take a little bit of time to get done through the courts. And so in discussing it with, Christie and Mr. Ashworth, they were both, very comfortable with what we've done with this agreement and the timing of this, so that the applicants can move forward. And then as they work through that court process, then they will ratify this agreement. And with that, I'll stop and let Christie, she can chime in and explain that just a little bit better than I can maybe.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. This is Christy Ransom. And then, as Brian said, Rob Ashworth is on the phone for the meeting too. So Rob, you correct anything I say that may be wrong. But basically, this property is this kind of unknown CD alley property, has been effectively used by the owners of these properties for many years, and there are trees grown, and it's pretty clear where kind of the line is intended, but that's not how it's legally in existence. And so because of the good relationship between the applicants and their next door neighbor, there is already an agreement in place that Mr. Ashworth prepared that agrees to where that boundary line should be. But just so that it's clear going forward with the title for the property owner next door and the applicants, there's the matter in court that has to be filed just in case there's anybody floating around out there that claims some sort of ownership in this alley that nobody really even knows exists. So to clear it up for the title for both of these property owners, that's the process that Mr. Ashworth is going to file and go through. In the interim, as I said, he's already prepared the boundary line agreement between the two property owners that effectively takes care of this. And that's why I'm perfectly comfortable with this going forward. And then at the end of that process, it will just be a simple matter of filing Mr. Ashworth and his clients and the next door neighbor filing something, just ratifying what they've done. So I think it's a really good solution to what is an unusual circumstance out in Leapersfort. And I can answer any questions, and I'm sure Mr. Ashworth can too, if you all have any.
Okay, thank you, Christy. So once we were able to clear that up, then we were in really good shape with the design of the system, the design of the areas. And so the approval steps moving forward, pending the outcome of the board's action tonight, the design plans that the engineer has prepared, just need to grant final approval to those, grant final approval to the survey documents that the surveyor has prepared. And again, since this is an experimental system, the board has to approve it. And there will be a legal agreement that's recorded against the deed of the property that spells out, the system, its restrictions, and any other requirements. And then that final disposition of the lawsuit for the CD, the quiet title for the CD street, and getting that ratified, hopefully within the next couple of years, is what we put in the report. Then they can get they can go ahead and apply for their permit and do their renovations and install the new system. So, based on all the information that we have and the design work, the soil and the site, we're very comfortable with the proposal and the plan of action. We do not foresee any adverse impacts to the protection of public health and the environment. We think this will give the owners a new system. They can renovate their house, basically, fix up their house, have a brand new system that should give them many, many years of good, useful life, and provide a very quality sound secondary area down the road if their system ever fails. So as such, the department supports this request. And now, if there's any questions or need more explanation, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Christy, for your comments. Mr. Ashworth, is there anything you want to say before I open it up to the board members?
When Christy and I were talking about this, as far as the quiet title action goes, I believe we were talking, Brian mentioned that, we hope to get it done within the next couple of years. We were setting it at just an outside deadline of 24 months to quiet the title. I expect to have that done in 2021, unless there's an outside chance that anyone comes forward, which would be heirs dating back from 1900 or before. So we don't anticipate that. And even if any heirs did come forward, Christy and I have talked about it. We think we've more than got enough time and tacking for adverse possession rights to it, even if someone does pop up. So we don't anticipate any issues of quieting the title to ratify it. But the goal is to get it done in 2021 and have everything wrapped up as well. But 24 months was the outside date, so we didn't have to come back and get additional approval or extension of it.
Thank you. Are there questions of the board members that you would like to address to Brian or Christy or even to Mr. Ashworth? I see nobody, everybody's shaking their head no. Brian, as usual, you've done a very thorough job. Christy, thank you for all the legal paperwork. And Mr. Ashworth, thank you for being here, and please inform the Moonies, I think they're on here, the Moneys rather, that we appreciate their patience in getting this done. Y'all ready to vote? I'll do a roll call vote. As I call your name, would you please confirm your yes or no? We'll start with Dr. Sam Baskin. Did you ever get on? Charlie Beecham?
Yay.
Thank you, Charlie. Tina Hamlin, did you ever get on? Cindy Howes?
Excuse me, I vote yay.
Thank you, Cindy. Kathy Montgomery, did you get on? Martin Myers?
Martin Myers, yes.
Thank you, Martin. Dr. Gary Owens, it'll be *6 for you, Gary. Gary Owens. Try again, Gary. Try it now. One more time. You're on mute now, Gary. Now tell us your vote. Is that a yes, Gary?
That's right. Vote
All right.
yes.
Took a while. It's like going fishing. Dr. Stillwell.
Yes.
Well, yes.
Thank you. Rhonda Watson.
Rhonda Watson, yes.
Thank you. And the chair, Anderson, votes yes. So it's a unanimous vote for you.
Gary. Gary says yes.
Gary said yes.
Yes.
So we will move on and star six, Gary. I won't put you back on mute again. So
Yes, that's a yes.
Thank you. The resolution passes. I'm not sure where I was in this conversation now, but anyway, it all passed. And that's the only thing we've got on the agenda tonight. I will ask the board to please reserve January the 19th.
Gary said yes.
And I think we're on a recording now. Thank you, Gary. January the 19th, 2021, we will have another meeting, so you can go ahead and put that on your calendar. For you that are on the committee that want to hear this, I would encourage you to please wash those hands. Keep your distance out there. Our numbers continue to rise in our county. Wear those masks. We've had several incidences over the last few days on the COVID uptick. Our latest numbers are escalating on us. We are monitoring our hospital to be sure that we have ample room for our COVID patients as well as other patients. I know that many of you, Dr. Stillwell and others, are in this arena. I want to say thank you for all of you that are working in the arena of dealing with COVID and first responders, emergency medical, children, you name it. The vaccine cannot get to our county quick enough for people to have an opportunity to weigh their decisions, read the literature, and do what's best for them and their family. We expect that vaccine to be in our area on the 21st or 22nd of next week. And most of the first round, the Pfizer will, in fact, all of the first round will be going to our hospitals. There's about 1,000 doses that will be going there for the hospital personnel, and then of course the responders and the other medical people will have an opportunity. We feel like that the Moderna vaccine, hopefully we'll get that at the end of this month, maybe the first part of the year, and then we can expand that on out. Just be safe, be careful out there, and for goodness sakes, wash those hands, practice good hygiene so we can have everybody here. I'm sure everybody knows over the last couple of weeks here in our county, we've lost some very outstanding people that have contacted COVID and were not successful in overcoming that. Not as a scare tactics. 99% of the people get COVID, and they are able to overcome it. But that 1 to 1.5% is a real challenge for a lot of people. So want to do our part. The executive order by the governor will be issued, we're told, by the about the 27th. He has to do it by the 27th. We know we'll have another executive board meeting that I was telling you for January. That will be good, we feel, for another 60 days. So our January and February Board of Health meeting will be carried out through pretty much the end of February, which allows us to have these meetings without putting greater stress or imposing some safety hazard. And we're very proud and glad to have that, because we've got a lot of meetings that we have to conduct every week here out of the complex. If you're asking me about the mask mandate, that has not been issued by the governor. As all of you know, the governor extended the mask mandate to those counties, the county mayors, except for the 6 counties or cities such as Davidson County. They have their own medical director. So we'll just have to wait and see if the governor extends that mask order past the 29th of this month. Any questions?
Rogers, I would just like to say, not necessarily in record for this meeting, but I appreciate when you did do the mask mandate for folks, even though a lot of people do not abide by it. Because as an elderly person, it is scary enough to be out there as it is, let alone when you've got people without masks on their faces. So I appreciate when you do that.
Thank you, Cindy. I will say that it's not done in a vacuum. Many of you wrote me. Many of you expressed your views. We looked at information from our hospital, our public health leaders, our directors of school, and all the things they're having to go through, trying to keep our doors open for our businesses, and all city mayors and city managers were signing on this. It wasn't just me doing it in a silo. So it took some time to get to that point, but we're there, and hopefully we can turn the curve on this here in the next couple of months, but we need to be safe. When you have to put a mask on Santa Claus, you know something's wrong. For you, they're old enough to remember the Lone Ranger. That's what he looks like, Charlie. Anything else? Well, we appreciate you, each and every one of you. And on behalf of the mayor of the county and the chairman of the Board of Health, I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I hope, the only one I'm really worried about getting switches and coal is Charlie Beecham. I think the rest of you have probably been pretty good. But Charlie, I do worry about. Charlie, I see you clicked on.
Appreciate your concern.
Enough said. Y'all have a good evening.
I am a reptile.
Yeah, you are a reptile. That's correct. That Florida's playing good ball.
And we are immune to some things.
That's right. Anything else?
They stop throwing shoes, Charlie. You might have a better shot at things.
Yeah. Kathy, I see.
That's true.
Kathy, I see you've signed on. We started without you at 5 o'clock, and I'm sure before I get off from there, hit you're on mute. There you go. Tell them how many shots we did today, or how many tests we did today.
Oh my gosh, we've done 1,094 tests in just 2 days already. Yeah, we did 574 yesterday and 460 today. So my apologies, Mayor, because I had a calendar invite at 5:30. So my apologies, sir. And I think I sent that to another individual too. So I know we usually always have this at 5 o'clock, so I was kind of surprised, but I might have had it on my calendar wrong.
It's not that you weren't missed. We called your name several times, but we went on and started without you, and we have finished without you. So it's good to see you, and thanks for your hard work and all the public health work you do out there, testing 1,000 people in 2 days. As I said right before you got on, it's still running rampant in our area, so be safe. Wash the hands, wear the mask, and practice 6 feet at least away from everybody. Anything else? Thank you all. Have a good Christmas and holiday season. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Y'all have a great Christmas.
You as well.